Boston Celtics made a move this offseason to help get them some added size, depth, and an extra scoring punch when they traded for Kristaps Porzingis. But in that deal, they happened to give up a player that I feel is really important to the identity of that team, and that is Marcus Smart. So we're going to talk about what the missing of Marcus Smart could really do and how it could hurt the Boston Celtics, even with the changes they made this offseason. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm one of the hosts here, Haize. You guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. Let's go ahead and get into the content for today. So I was sitting there thinking about all the teams that have made moves and things like that, and especially with the Dame Lillard trade kind of pending and everybody kind of waiting to see where Dame's going to go, even though the Portland Trailblazers may very well, and I think it's the right move to do as well, maybe wait until they can get a little bit more out of that trade and deal, and maybe he doesn't end up going to the Heat, but we'll end up seeing with that one. Now, the Boston Celtics was one of those teams that made a move, and they made an initial blockbuster trade, blockbuster in a way, that brought Kristaps Porzingis to the team, but sent out Malcolm Brogdon. Now, that trade ended up falling apart. They pivoted. They still ended up getting Kristaps Porzingis, but they had to include Marcus Smart in the deal, who ends up going to the Memphis Grizzlies, who I think is going to help that team, especially since they're going to be missing Ja Morant at the starting point of that season. But it's left a question in a hole, at least for me, and I think some other basketball fans as well, that in sending out Marcus Smart, that maybe the Boston Celtics shoot themselves in the foot a little bit more than what they thought. And that's not to say that Kristaps Porzingis is going to be a bad move for them. I want to be clear here. I like Kristaps Porzingis on this Boston Celtics team. Adding a player that's going to be another 20-point per game scorer, has the potential to be. He's going to be now in a third role, so don't expect him maybe to have that many points per game, but also get 8 rebounds per game, gets 3 assists per game, still gets over 1 block per game. He averages almost 2 blocks a game per his career, and he doesn't really turn the ball over, averaging only 1.7 turnovers per game over the course of his career. And he's going to step in, be a nice added piece to that Boston Celtics team, and hopefully help Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, maybe get over the hump. But I have a question there as far as, have they affected their identity a little bit too much, right? As basketball fans, we all know one of the things that helps push teams into a different area and stratosphere is having that player that kind of just brings everything together. And in my opinion, Marcus Smart at times was that player for the Boston Celtics, especially when you look at that team being led by 2 players that really kind of are that you get yours, I get mine. They kind of switch quarters back and forth. And while Marcus Smart has never been a player whose stats absolutely step or pop out the stat sheet for you over the course of his career, only a 10-point per game scorer, shooting the ball only 38% for his career, even though the last couple seasons 41% each, and only a 32% three-point shooter. But Marcus Smart was that guy who, when they needed a big shot, sometimes gave him. When they needed a big defensive stop, was that guy, that glue piece in a lot of ways. And we've seen with teams before, when you kind of undervalue a player that could be looked at as your glue guy, it can sometimes have bigger negative effects on you than what you added to the team. And so while I do like Kristaps Porzingis coming to that Boston Celtics team, like I said, I theoretically loved it. In the first version of that deal, when they got Kristaps and was going to hold on to Marcus Smart, I really thought that they were going to have pretty much everything they need. Now they look at a team that's you're bringing in you're returning Derek White. He's going to be starting off at point guard more than likely for you. And while he shaved his head, and I do absolutely think him finally embracing the baldness may help him find a little bit of edge himself, I still wonder if the subtraction of Marcus Smart is going to be something that they look back on and they think, hey, we got to kind of go out and get a similar guy. Now, could Derek White be that? Possibly. Him stepping up into a larger role for the Boston Celtics could be. When you look at the stat sheet, it's very similar to Marcus Smart. So that's why I say it's not really about the stats, right? And over his career, Derek White a much better shooter than what Marcus Smart was. 44% for his career overall from the field, a career 35% three-point shooter. Last year being a 38% three-point shooter, taking almost 5 three-pointers per game. We know what Derek White can bring. He's solid on defense. He can score some for you. He's going to really benefit from the open shots. I think him and Kristaps Porzingis, if they can get a pick and roll going with them as well, could be something that turns out. But overall, I'm just worried about are the Boston Celtics going to be missing a little bit too much of that edge. And they did get another player in Jordan Walsh who I like, showed out a lot in Summer League. Maybe he can end up picking up a role for them, another player that, could be looked at as that edge role for them. And with Malcolm Brogdon's kind of questions around his health, I think it may be more of a glaring thing. Maybe I'm thinking too much. Maybe I'm overvaluing the impact that Marcus Smart had for that team. I can admit to all of that it's the case, but let me know what you guys think on that down below. Make sure you're following the show at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything basketball related. And I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.